and welcome to the NDTV Auto Show. Mahindra Thar Roxx has been the center of attention from the time of its launch. And to talk more about it today, I have with me Mr. Pratap Bose, Head of Design at Mahindra Auto. Thanks, Pratap, for joining us today. My first question to you is, how difficult was it to design Thar Roxx? The reason I ask is because Thar 3-door is an icon in itself, and then there are many other products, for example Jeep Wrangler or even your own Mahindra Bolero. They're all designs that are very iconic. So how difficult was it for you to design the Thar Roxx?
Hi Mukta, thanks for having me. It's always nice to talk to you. Mukta, as you know, at Mahindra we are very lucky to have 4 iconic brands. You know, it's a house of brands, as we call it. Thar, Bolero, Scorpio and XUV, and soon we'll add sort of the Born Electric range to that. But we have 4 iconic brands and products under those brands, as you mentioned, and each one has a distinct identity. While they are all Mahindras, they are also individual products with the individual design identity. And like you said, Thar is truly iconic. It actually defines what we are as a company. This whole spirit of adventure ready, exploration, go anywhere, all of that is defined and actually held by the Thar, that sort of DNA of the company. So, of course, when you are touching an icon or designing or taking forward an icon into a wider family of products, it's always a challenge, but it's also an extremely exciting opportunity, because how many designers get a chance to work on icons. So when it came to the Roxx, Mukta, we basically built on what the 3-door already had in terms of its basic DNA. But I was very clear, and we as a company were very clear, that this is not just 2 doors more to a 3-door product. This is much more than 2 doors, as I always say. And hence, the Roxx was born. And if you actually walk or look around the car, right from the front grille, which we call the 6-pack grille, to the daytime running lamps, the C-shaped lamps, and then you walk around the side. There's been a lot of conversation on the second door and the C pillar, the raked C pillar, especially when we showcased it a couple of weeks ago. But now, overwhelmingly, as people have started seeing more and more of it, they understand why we did that and why we took a route to give the Roxx its own identity, like you just mentioned. Because the positioning of the Roxx, Mukta, is different from the 3-door. The 3-door is for the pure adventure, thrill seeker. And while there is a market for that, a lot of people who love the Thar brand name and the Thar products felt that they needed something which they could get their family into, that they could use as a daily driver actually. That had space for luggage, that was easy to get in and out in the second row. So as we were designing it, we realized that the Roxx would appeal to a totally different kind of Thar customer. And over the last 2 or 3 weeks, this is exactly what we are seeing playing out. Even the name, a lot of people had a reservation in the beginning, but as you give them little time and they experience the product, they've now started seeing them in our showrooms, the test drives have begun, they can really understand what a huge difference this product has made to the Thar brand name. And like I said, both coexist, the 3-door and the 5-door, and they have die-hard fans, and I'm sure the 5-door will also create that following.
The Thar Roxx platform is different from the Thar 3-door. So how did that impact the design process?
So, Mukta, like we said, it was, the Roxx is targeted to a totally different customer, and this is a much more on-road enthusiast rather than a hardcore off-road enthusiast. And for on-road dynamics, we needed a certain level of change in our architecture, the platform itself, what we call M-Glide. And that really, in its suspension, in its steering, in its ride and handling, makes the Roxx, very, very, capable and mainstream in that segment that it plays, and makes it truly a family-oriented vehicle. So the way it drives and handles, you can use it as a completely normal daily driver. And because of that, as expectation from the product, we had to change the architecture onto M-Glide. Now, M-Glide had a certain advantage. Obviously, we had to lengthen the whole architecture to get the third and fourth door for access to the second row. But it also made the car wider. The car is 60 millimeters wider at the wheels than the three-door, let's say, little brother. And this gives it excellent proportions. So it's very balanced. It doesn't look long, nor does it look over wide. The increase in length by around half a meter, and the increase in width by about 60 millimeters, 6 centimeters, has really given the Thar Roxx a huge on-road presence. And again, I've been seeing your reports and now ordinary customers who are test driving the car. The first thing they mention is actually the on-road or the street presence of the Roxx. They find it amazingly strong, and that comes down to the design proportion. At the same time, it's easy to handle. It's easy to drive in cities and towns. So we've not compromised anywhere. It's really a win-win to shift to the new M-Glide architecture or platform.
Pratap, I have to ask you, what's going on with the roof of Thar Roxx? Why that kink and then the slope? Why did you have to design that?
Yeah, look, we wanted to very clearly signal that this is the new product. It's a 5-door, product in the Thar family. And Mukta, when you try to create an identity for a product, that means it has to be recognized either in very tight traffic where you can't see the whole vehicle, or at a distance where you can see the vehicle. At both those distances, the design should be instantly recognizable. And by introducing this little kink on the second door, and of course the fast C-pillar, and then bringing down the roof color, all the way down to the waistline, it almost looks like a sort of mini pickup truck with a soft top. That was the look we were trying to achieve. That it's not just like I said, just an ordinary 5-door product. It has to have and had to have a character of its own. And again, today, in any images that you see, even if you cover the front or you cover the back, and you see just a part of the car, maybe through a tree or through cars. And I was on the motorway today and I saw a couple of people test driving. I couldn't see the whole car, but it's just by these few features you instantly recognize that, oh, there's the Roxx. And I think that's important. And like I said, when you bring something so new to a segment in terms of design language, it does take some time to sort of bed in. But over a very, very short period of time, people get used to it, and then they start from used to it and accepting it, they start actually loving it. And we'll see, I'm sure, the same thing happening with the Roxx as you see it more on the road. One thing I missed out, Mukta, in your last question, the interior of the Roxx, to reflect its sort of personality and who it's targeted to. For the first time in the segment, you have sort of soft touch IP, soft touch door trims. One of the largest sky roofs or moon roof or sun roof, whatever we want to call it. There are some of these features in the interior, ventilated seats, which this segment or this category has not seen. And I think there again, it really strengthens the credentials of the Roxx in being this daily driver, this family vehicle, this with that you could use with, or anyone in the family can use, and it doesn't have to be this weekend getaway car that the 3-door is perhaps.
And also about the C-pillar, because C-pillar, first of all, the door handle has been placed slightly higher up, and if you are saying that this is a family car, then I'm assuming the second row will also be used by kids. That will be a little out of reach for them. So what was the thinking process behind the C-pillar's treatment, and also the quarter grass area? That is also very different. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, so like I said, Mukta, while it's very much a 5-door product, from a distance I wanted it to look like it's got a soft top, and that explains the C-pillar. And like I said, for the first time, the roof color, the black of the roof actually comes all the way down to the waist of the car, which many dual tone cars don't do. They do dual tone only till a certain point in the roof, but we've got it all the way down, and there are certain paint shop and production challenges that we have to overcome to actually do that. But we were very, very clear that that's the look we wanted for it. As far as the handle in the C-pillar, we just thought it was a cool place to put it. It disguised the second handle, which was coming very close to the wheel arch, so we would have had to make the wheel arch a bit smaller, which we didn't want to compromise. So there's a set of sort of physical conditions there. And of course, we wanted to actually hide the door handle. We started doing that with some of our cars, and you'll see this more and more. It somehow just felt a lot cooler. We did explore in the more normal place, but we felt that the Thar and the Roxx customer is not your usual person or family. These are people who are slightly different. And coming back to the question of kids, Mukta, while we even showed it to the press in Kochi, I had a family, come up to me. They had driven, I think, a couple of hours to just come and see the product, and they had 3 kids in the family. And without any hesitation, they stood on the step that we provide, opened the door, and jumped into the back seats. I mean, they were just. It wasn't even an issue, and because kids find a way of getting to things. But it's one of those things that brings character. It's one of those things that people talk about, but become memorable and then become iconic. See, Mukta, we talk about the Thar itself being iconic because it's memorable. It's not a product that just comes and goes and you replace every 2 years, or we give it its time. It's built well, it's built tough, and then those elements start becoming iconic. So we have to do the same thing with the Roxx. There are few touches, but those few things over time will become iconic. And I know, and I hope at least, that the next design team who designs the next generation of Roxx, I hope they use some of these elements to actually start the design. Because we certainly didn't have a 5-door reference, So I hope this becomes a sort of building block for future Roxxes.
Pratap, I found that the front row thigh support is less than what you get on the second row. The second row is quite comfortable, wide, and offers good thigh support. But I found the front row's thigh support a little lacking. What was the thinking behind that?
Actually, to be very honest, this is the first time I'm hearing the comment, and I'll definitely look into it. But there's no reason I can think of that we have to shorten it or anything like that. In fact, it's very similar to what we have on the 3-door already. It's the same seat structure. Of course, it's a new seat because we've got ventilation and all of that. But in terms of dimensions, I don't think there's a difference. But since you bring it up, I'll have a look. And as you said, the second row was critical. We see a lot of second row usage. So we focused a lot on second row comfort, ingress, egress, and of course comfortable long journeys. We want people to do intercity journeys on the motorway or the highway, and seat comfort there was paramount in the second row. But of course, since you brought up the first row, I will definitely take a look with the team.
Now, one big question: in the top variant, you have this really light color, almost white interiors. Now, with Thar's big windows and big open areas, it's already getting dirty. Even in our drives, it was getting dirty. Would you reconsider giving other options as the upholstery for the higher variants? Of course, in lower variants, you have different colors, but for the higher variants, do you think white was not such a good choice?
Yeah, Mukta, again, for positioning, we wanted to make sure that the premium positioning of the Roxx is very clear from the moment you see the vehicle, right? And so therefore, and the interior has a lot to do with that premium positioning. So if you see the use of white or cream, most premium high-end cars do use a lot of light colors. We have taken care, of course, that it's all easily cleanable. So if you see the material we've used on the seat, all it takes is a little bit of water or a little bit of a spray, and you can actually wipe it down. It doesn't sort of hold the dirt, in its structure itself. It's a leatherite that we use. It's a PVC based leatherite that we use, and it's extremely easy to clean. But yes, we did that from a very, very conscious premium point of view, and like you said, there are variants which don't have the light interior, and there of course people can make that choice, no doubt at all.
Roxx interiors definitely look and feel also a lot more premium. So how did you manage the balance between cost and better quality materials?
Yeah, I think we've become as a company very good at managing sort of material and input cost, and this comes from scale, of course. When you are planning a product, you have a certain number that you want to produce, and that gives us a scale advantage. And we also bring features into quite a few of our variants. That means we don't sometimes only save it for the topmost. We sometimes bring it also the mid variant, or we'll do a new variant between mid and top. So we're able to utilize more technology or more of these features across a wider number of products. And I think to get the scale advantage, we definitely we lead in terms of bringing in technology. You've seen that right from 700, 3XO, and now the Thar. Technologies and premium materials is something we really want to focus on, and I really think as a company we have a good handle on input cost and material cost, because there's a scale multiplier effect, and the more you use it, actually the easier it is to deploy in more and more products. So for example, I know we're not talking about it today, but 3XO also has a soft trim interior which no car in that segment or the segment above actually gives. And we're able to do this because we're able to use scale to our advantage. And you've seen, of course, the numbers for each of our product families, and I think that's a good thing, because at a democratized price point, the Indian customer is able to get something truly premium and global, and we are very, very proud to be able to do that.
One important aspect of Roxx is that it's a family car, and while the Thar 3-door customer is more willing to compromise on ergonomics for the look and feel of that rugged vehicle, when you place a product in family car segment, then the requirements are a little different, Pratap. You know that better than anybody else. Now, in this case, how did you manage the ergonomics? How did you manage the ingress, egress, making sure that even older people can access the vehicle easily?
Yes, absolutely. We looked at families, and typically, an Indian family, typically, if it spans 3 generations, as a set of grandparents, and then of course the family itself, could be 1 kid or 2 children. So we looked at that whole span, and because when you define family in India, the definition is slightly broader than a typical family in the West, as it's described there. A family car, in Europe is not at all similar to what we know as a family car in India.
Now, Pratap, I want to shift focus a little bit. We have talked enough about rocks. Now, I want to look ahead and talk about the EVs. Designing EVs is a little bit different because aerodynamics play a very crucial role there. In SUVs, you can have like a proper boxy look, but when you talk about EVs, they have to be more aerodynamic. So now that we have seen BE05 and we have seen some of the spy shots, how different was it for you to design the EV after the SUV?
No, this is a very good point, and again here we work with our suppliers and engineers at MRV and the tier 1 supplier ecosystem to actually optimize on weight, and I think Mukta, regardless of if it's an EV or an ICE, a lower weight is anyway beneficial, right? So in an EV's case it's for range, in an ICE case it's for sort of fuel economy or performance, handling. So I think to optimize weight was always in our design process from day one, and wherever possible, we have a very strong focus on that. So for example, in some areas metal is lighter than glass, so then how do you play with that proportion of glass versus metal? In other areas it's strength versus weight again. So sometimes you have to increase the weight in some areas because for strength, for crash, for performance like that. So the weight distribution across the car is very carefully balanced, it's very carefully tuned, and that's one area in addition to aerodynamics that we work very closely with our engineering partners at MRV and of course the tier 1 suppliers. They are also working hard in reducing material. I mean, we are also talking about an ecological aspect of things. More weight sometimes is also more material. So how can we optimize is, I think, where we are today, rather than using exotic materials. It's easy to say, okay, use carbon fiber or use something else. There's a whole balance, there's a whole price point, there's a whole volume expectation we have to meet, and you have to use certain materials because of that. And but huge focus on optimization, and that's a perfect question, because the lesser the car weighs in a EV especially, the further it goes, and the more aerodynamic it is, the further it goes. It's physics at the end of the day, it's not rocket science. So optimizing weight as well as aerodynamics without losing the performance that you need is that sort of magic sauce, I think.
Pratap, one challenge as a designer that you must have faced is the weight of the vehicle, especially in EVs because of the battery. They tend to be a lot more heavier. How did you manage that, and how did you make sure that the weight is contained?
Mukta, we had showcased a vision in August 22, and I had said at that point that as far as the design is concerned, what you see is exactly what you will get in 2 years. And 2 years on, we've of course announced that in the first quarter of the next calendar year we'll start the launches, and people will see how close to the vision that we showed in August 22, how close to that we've stayed. And I think it will really make the world notice when we launch these BEVs, and it's something that not only are we proud as Mahindra, but we are very proud as an Indian company that we can truly bring in all respects. And of course we'll discuss this more when we go to market and when we launch, but in all aspects of the vehicle it is truly global and world class. And we are not just saying this. Like I had said, the concepts we showed 2 years ago, we will bring it, and that's going to be true. When I say global and when I say world class, you can speak to me in another few months and quiz me on that, because it will surprise a lot of people, and we're very excited with the BEVs, Mukta.
What do you think we should expect from your EVs, which are right on the anvil? What can the customer expect in terms of tech, in terms of design from Mahindra's upcoming EVs?
I think at the moment we won't sort of discuss the percentage, etc. But the attempt always, Mugdha, is to localize as much as we possibly can. Because that's what in all our products, not just in BEVs, in all our products gives us this advantage that you spoke about. Of the ability to price so that we can democratize technology. We brought in the dual screens in 700. We brought in Ergonomics. The Inglo architecture for BEVs will do a very similar thing. We are able to democratize technology and make it accessible because we have a huge focus on indigenization, not only localization but also indigenization. Homegrown solutions, not solutions always brought in from outside and then just made here. There are some unique solutions we develop with our supplier partners, and those are again something we can be very, very proud about, that our products will showcase some of those indigenous technologies and India developed technologies and products and components in the BEV. So like I said, we won't discuss a percentage today, but what I can say is that we truly do believe in design, engineered, manufactured, developed in India. So as far as possible, that's our focus.
And how much localization are we looking at in your EVs?
Yeah, Mugdha, again, good question, and we've touched upon this before and we'll expand on it, but from the 4 EVs that we had showcased, 2 were from the XUV family, and 2 that we had showcased, or 3 we had showcased, were from a new sub-brand called B. B is going to be the 5th, let's say, brand in the house of brands, right? Scorpio, Bolero, Thar, XUV and B. XUV, like I just mentioned, is the first one of the first we'll bring to the born electric world, and B is the new brand we are launching also in the born electric world. So of course they will have different design language, all of that, because XUV is an XUV regardless of if it's ICE or EV, and B is purely a BEV product. It doesn't have an ICE counterpart, and so it has a design language of its own.
Pratap, as you said that Mahindra is known as a company of brands. Now for EVs, we know that you have already announced a couple of EVs, more than couple actually, 4 EVs that are going to come up very soon. Now I want to understand, will they be a brand on their own, or will they be a part of a more umbrella brand of EVs?
So Thari, of course, we showed in South Africa, and it was a design study. It was, like I mentioned earlier, Thar actually defines, to a large extent, defines the core DNA of the company, and we felt, just to take the Thar into the next generation, what would it be if it was electric? And that's what we showcased in South Africa, and we got an overwhelming response. Of course, we are always open to exploring new ideas. That's why the design team and marketing team actually exist, and the planning team. And based on the feedback we got, we will at an appropriate time electrify all our brands. I mean, we've said this before, but just in which order we'll do it, Mugdha, is a question of sort of strategy and capacity. And we are, as you know, starting with electrifying the XUV, or bringing the XUV brand into a born electric world, and of course B as well.
EV customers, they're generally a little bit more tech savvy. So how important was tech for you when you were designing the EVs? EVs,
by their definition, are seen in a certain way and have a certain kind of customer who naturally gravitate towards an EV, and so you have to be able to speak in their sort of language and appeal to what they are looking for. And like I mentioned before, our EVs are going to be tech packed. They're absolutely second to none. And I say this again, they're second to no product in the world anywhere. And so, for example, one of the important areas is what we call the human-machine interface. The product has so much technology that it has to be easily accessed and understood by the user, by the driver, by the co-passengers. And that's an area we've given a disproportionate, let's say, effort to, the human machine, what we call the UI and the UX, the user interface and the user experience. And there you'll see is where the true beauty and the strength of the technologies that we are bringing in are brought to the fore and presented to the customer, and make it a really unique experience for all the senses. And I'm going to say this again, apart from taste, I suppose, but all the senses will be used, simulated or stimulated and excited by the human-machine interaction. And we've seen this step, the amount of information that an EV or a new car driver has to deal with makes the emphasis on UI and UX very, very important. And like I said, that's an area we've given disproportionate effort to.
On the EV front, what kind of safety features can we expect, and what about reliability?
I mean, the safety is now, it's not even something we actually discuss at Mahindra anymore. It's literally it's a given. It's a table stakes for us. For us, there's no question actually of any sort of compromise on safety. So all our products that we bring are really at the cutting edge of safety, and will be the same with the EVs as well. Reliability, again, we'll talk about this a lot more when we launch. But safe to say that the technologies we are using, right from the cell or the construction of the car, or the electronic powertrain, the kind of testing we're doing, we all keep sharing, our camouflage cars from all over India. They're logging hundreds of thousands of kilometers as we speak. We are making sure that when we do bring the BEVs, like any of our products, the safety and reliability is something I think customers shouldn't even have to think about. It's going to be so integral and so part of the product that it's expected, it's natural, it's normal. But we do a lot of hard work behind the scenes to deliver it and bring it to customers.
Pratap, now I want to ask you, what do you prefer? What is your personal preference between designing an ICE vehicle, designing a petrol diesel car, or designing an EV?
Look, we just launched a small commercial vehicle yesterday, called Euro. I loved that. I also have in my portfolio, we also have to design LMM products. We have to design, farm machinery and tractors. So for me, every product is designed with passion, and I really, I can't say that, look, I enjoyed designing the BEVs more, or the Roxx, or indeed XUV, or the future products from the ICE side. They're all unique, they're different, they're amazing set of challenges and opportunities. What I can say is that, the engine has always been, in an ICE product, the engine has been in front of the driver for the last 70 or 80 years, right? So we've reached, of course, a fundamental shift in architecture, and I think that's exciting. Not necessarily if it's BEV or if it's ICE. It's just that, for the first time, the architecture of the vehicle itself has undergone a complete shift. And I find that very exciting. The challenges, and like I said, challenges and opportunities are kind of similar, or have a different weightage depending on which motive force you're using. But I can tell you, me and my team, love designing Thars as we do Scorpios, as we do, Bees.
Thank you so much, Pratap, for taking time out for us and talking to us today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mugdha. Thank you. Thanks for having me.